I was really small on a small bike with bigger wheels, bigger than my body, I would say. I didn't enjoy it that much because whenever I went to a race, I was extremely nervous as a young kid. I saw myself coming past Casper in the sprint with a higher speed than he was going. And I knew I was coming across the line first, but still, even though I knew, it was so unbelievable to me. Okay, my question is, what advice would you give yourself when you were trying to come up to where you are now?
Since US President Donald Trump won election, South Africa has been the major topic of headlines. He's been talking about the whites and the reparation and all that. So in this episode, we brought a South African, the first person of color in South Africa to win the national cycling race in over 10 years. So he told us the story, he gave us the background of the apartheid and all that. And then he's going to tell us how he managed to succeed to become the first person of color to win this race. I think you're going to enjoy every part of this episode. Don't miss any part of it. And he asked a question for our next guest and answered our previous guest, as we always do.
Let's talk dreams, let's talk gold. Stories of success that never get old. Entrepreneurs rising, breaking the mold. On Cax Weekly, the future unfold. Cax Weekly, shining so bright.
Hi, Daniel. Welcome to Cax Weekly podcast with me, Abdullah Abakar Kaka. Congratulations on becoming the 2025 South Africa's National Road Champion. We're excited to hear about your journey on this episode. Thank you so much for having the time to discuss your journey with us. Let's start with the beginning. When and how did you discover your passion for cycling?
Hi, Abdul. Thanks for being on the podcast today. It's really an honor to be here, and also reaching an international audience is something that's really cool for me. Thanks for having me here. To answer your question, how did it start? Initially, my father was the one who introduced me to the sport. I think I was 8 years old, so it was quite a long time ago now. And I remember I was really small on a small bike with bigger wheels, bigger than my body, I would say. And yeah, from initially, I think I didn't enjoy it that much because whenever I went to a race, I was extremely nervous as a young kid. But growing up and becoming a bit more mature, and after training a bit more, I think I started enjoying it a lot more. And also, I think one of the biggest motivators for me was knowing what it felt like to win races. And that really kept me going and wanting to train more and get better in the sport.
That's amazing. So how was your father's support? How did it help you?
So much. My father has been there from day one, as I mentioned, and he has been supporting me non-stop, unwavering and continuous. And it's really immense to have somebody that is behind you 100% all the way. It's not only his time that he put in, which is extremely precious, but also finances that he had to put into the sport, because growing up through the age categories, obviously you don't get paid and there aren't really sponsors for young kids.
Mm.
So yeah, he had to put a lot of funding into it and time and support, until now at this point where I have a Team Siata in South Africa,
Mm.
which is headed up by Captain Ibrahim Sharif. And yeah, of course, the team has some sponsors, but in South Africa, we're always looking for more sponsors. It's a bit difficult to come by.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, finally, now I'm in talks with some teams overseas. So hopefully I can start getting paid in the sport that I love.
That's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about the hurdles that you face. When you talk about financial hurdles and financial constraints, at the early age, the early stage, what were these hurdles that you faced?
I think in the beginning, I wasn't really aware of the hurdles, because I was just a youngster and just riding my bike, but I never really took into consideration all the costs involved, like covering race entries, which are really expensive, traveling to races all across the country, um, getting the correct nutrition for off the bike and on the bike. So it's a lot that goes into it. And I think really without my father and the support of my family as a whole, it wouldn't have been possible for me to get to where I am today. And I think that's a struggle for many riders in South Africa and in Africa in general, is that it is a very expensive sport. So to get to a certain level, we do need some backing from, if it's not from our families, then sponsors or teams, for example.
Yeah. So you mentioned Siata as one of your mentors. Which other mentors do you have, and how did they help you shape your career as an athlete?
Well, of course, my father was my first mentor,
Yeah.
introducing me to the sport and showing me the basics of training. And he really got me up to a very good level where I was able to race very competitively on a national level. And from there, I think I went over to a coach called John Wakefield, who is a Cape Townian guy, and he works for um, top tier world tour team in the sport of cycling. So he also took me to another level. And now, currently, my coach, who is also my mentor, is Zahir Stanley. He's also a guy from Cape Town, but he lives in Malaysia. So, as you can see, there's a lot of support from all over the country in South Africa and the world in general. Some other mentors I had were the guys from Alpha Bodyworks. That was my first team in South Africa. And then second team was Enza Pro Cycling, which was headed up by Clint Hendricks. And he was an extraordinary cyclist from South Africa. He got a bronze at Commonwealth Games, and he also rode many professional cycling events all over the world. So he taught a lot, and I learned a lot through him.
Yes. So stepping up from like an amateur cyclist to an elite level cycling can be a huge leap. Can you share how you navigated through this jump, like physically, mentally, emotionally? Like, how did you navigate to step up and become like elite cyclist? Talking about cycling, staying fit is important. We have our organic chai tea, which is made of herbs and herbal products that I picked myself. We're on sales right now. Just head to www.areaworld.com/shop, where we have limited offers. You can get yours and you can drink it, and it builds immune system to make you stay fit and stay healthy. Rush before it's finished. See you there. Bye bye.
It was definitely a difficult step up because the workload increased a lot. The training became harder and longer. And so that was quite a big change for me to adapt to. I think when I was still at school, a typical week would be obviously going to school and then coming back around 3:30 and then riding for 1.5 or 2 hours after school during the week, and maybe 3 hours each day on the weekend. But then as soon as I was finished school, I went into the under 23 category, and it was such a big step up. I think the first training program I got for the first week was something like 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, 5 hours, and 5 hours. So as you can see, that's a huge difference to just riding
So
1.5 hours after school.
That's just cycling for 4 hours.
Just cycling, yeah.
Wow.
So you go and ride for 4 hours every day for 3 days, then you get an easier day, about 2 hours. And then the weekend was like 5 hours and 5 hours the next day.
Wow.
So it was difficult physically to become accustomed to that and get the body adapted to that training stimulus. But also mentally, I think it was tough because, well, I hadn't done that kind of hours before. And I think it can be mentally challenging to be on the bike for that amount of time and still find a way to enjoy it.
Aside from your recent victory, I would come to that in a moment. But aside from it, what other personal milestone or breakthrough moment that shape who you are as a cyclist?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think one of the earlier breakthrough moments was doing well on the track. So I started off doing track cycling, which is racing on a velodrome, and I think I was doing pretty well as a junior under 19 cyclist, and I got selected for Junior World Championships, which was held in Italy.
Mm.
And that was a big stepping stone for me to be exposed to that international competition and exposed to the best riders from countries all over the world. It definitely woke me up to see how much work I still had to do to get to the top. And so after junior, I think some other breakthrough moments were um, winning the 2022 Fall Boxing Day event, which is a really big event. It's been run for 120 something years here in Paul, in South Africa. And it's obviously a very historic event. And to win that was something really big for me. And then last year, I managed to take my first elite national title on the track. And then obviously this year, biggest victory of my career so far, winning the elite national road championship title.
Yeah, more to come, inshallah, more to come. When you went national, did you have like a feeling, the sense of something special is about to happen?
Yes, for sure. I think holding the national road title, especially, it comes with a big responsibility, but also big opportunities. And I knew that there was a possibility to use that victory and the title to try and further my career and get me to a position where I can develop more as a rider and take things to the next level. So immediately, with the help of Ibrahim from Team Siata, we started contacting some people and sending out my CV to various teams and so on. And not only that, but teams were actually coming to me and saying, "Hey, we saw your victory. We'd be interested in having you on the team." So yeah, there's definitely a big bonus with having that title behind my name.
We saw in the race, we saw a big breakaway around the 7th minute. What was going through your mind at that moment? Yes, please. I think, yeah, you froze a little bit. Yeah, I said we saw you break away from the like around 7 minutes in the race. So what was going through your mind at that point?
Okay, we had a breakaway of around 12 guys, and we had a 7 minutes gap over the main bunch, which was about 60 guys strong. So we had quite a big advantage, and we had built it up to 7 minutes by the halfway mark. So I really did think we had an extremely good chance of staying away because the gap was really big and everybody was working together nicely to keep the speed up and to keep that gap open so that we could stay away. And I think with 4 laps to go, with 2 laps to go, we had gone from 12 guys to only 4 guys left. All the other guys had dropped off the pace. And then in the last lap, I gave an attack and there was a counter attack. And from that point on, it was just 2 of us left. So going from 12 guys all the way down to 2 guys on the last lap,
Yeah.
I knew that there was a really good chance that it was just between me and this other guy, Casper Kruger, to take the victory on the day.
So at the last lap, I think Kruger came with a counter attack. Did you expect that?
I did expect it, yes. Well, not necessarily from him, but from one of the riders that were left of the 4. As I said, I attacked and I got closed down again on the hill. And one of the guys who was quite fatigued, he just sat on the front because I think he couldn't take the attacks anymore. He just wanted a nice, consistent pace. So he sat on the front, setting a consistent pace. But then, yeah, when Casper did a counter attack, I was ready because I knew somebody else was going to try something. And I was onto his wheel immediately. And the next thing I looked back, and it was just the 2 of us. The other 2 had dropped. So it was just the 2 of us from then on. And I think that was about 20 Ks left to the finish.
So what was that moment like when you crossed the line? Did you realize like you actually won?
I think it was hard to believe. I knew that I had won, but the the feeling was just so overwhelming. Coming to realize that I was the national champion, which was something that I didn't really believe would happen that day. I think it was
You froze again.
so many emotions going through my mind at that point. Um, so yeah, something very special, and the whole team was there to celebrate with me. So I really enjoyed that moment for sure.
We actually missed half of that answer because you froze. If you could give it again, that would be amazing, so that we can have it on the podcast because it's the most important part actually of the podcast.
Okay. It felt extremely amazing to cross the line in first. I think I knew what was happening because we were the last two coming to the line, and I saw myself coming past Casper in the sprint with a higher speed than he was going, and I knew I was coming across the line first. But still, even though I knew, it was so unbelievable to me that of all the guys on the start list, I was the one to take the victory on the day,
Mm.
and it was just extremely special and emotional as well.
Ye-
And I'm just very thankful to all the support over the years and the team for being there on the day and supporting me throughout the race with nutrition and ice to keep myself cool and just giving me information about what's happening in the race behind. So, yeah, it was an amazing day.
Yeah, so it's really an amazing day and it's a really amazing victory. You are the first person of color to win this title in over a decade. That's like 10 years. What does that milestone mean to you personally? And what do you hope it will have on the South African cycling?
Yeah, okay. I think for the international audience here who is not familiar with the situation in South Africa and apartheid and the legacy it left behind, um, apartheid was a systematic racial segregation in South Africa, which only came to an end in 1994, and people were classified by race, and your race determined what kind of job you could have, what kind of beach you could go to, where you could live, the level of education you could get. And so obviously it had a profound impact on society in South Africa. And to this day, you can still see the legacy of apartheid living on. So I think for riders of color, it's really difficult to come up in a sport like cycling because of all the costs involved. I mean, it's a lot more expensive than other traditional sports in South Africa, like rugby or cricket or football, for example. So for sure, that is a big barrier to entry, and it deters a lot of riders of color from entering the sport or from making it from a lower level to a higher level. So I think being the first rider of color, I just really hope that my victory can motivate riders of color and show them that with hard work and dedication, it can be possible. Of course, apart from the hard work and dedication, we also need support. Riders need so much support from their team, their family, and sponsors, of course, who make everything possible.
Yeah. So do you feel a sense of responsibility to serve as a role model to young cyclists of color or even other diverse backgrounds?
Yes, for sure. I definitely feel a responsibility to be a role model to riders of color, but I think young riders in general, I hope that I can be some kind of motivation to all the riders in South Africa, especially the young riders who are coming up. I think the sport really needs more young riders getting into the sport, and hopefully it motivates them. And instead of them perhaps hanging up the bike, to instead push through and keep on training hard and reach new heights on the bike. So yes, I do feel a responsibility for sure, especially now as national champion. Um, I want to I want to show more of myself and get even better results to just consolidate that win at national championships.
Yeah. So how do you handle pressure, especially now that there are more eyes looking on you, knowing that people are looking at you, and how do you handle pressure in case of someone who is going to join the field of cycling? Can you give an advice or tell them how you handle pressure?
Well, of course, the pressure is quite difficult to deal with, but it's something that definitely has to be done, especially now with this title behind my name and this national kit that I wear. It comes with responsibility and some pride, and also, of course, I have the pressure. People always thinking that because I'm now national champion, I should be winning every race, but that's not always the case in cycling. There are so many different things that could happen. So, of course, I know that I have the potential and capability to win more races. It just comes down to how things unfold on the day.
Mm.
But I think that um, a very important part is believing in myself and knowing what my worth is on the bike, and not necessarily listening to what every critic has to say or every hater. There's obviously going to be people who stand on the sidelines and make comments, but at the end of the day, it's me who's on the bike and I have to do the talking with my legs.
All right. Let's move on to motivation, how you stay motivated. When training gets tough and the competition gets fair, what keeps you going? Is it pure love for the sport or personal goal or something else? What keeps you going?
I think, yes, part of it has to do with my love for the sport. But I think more than my love for the sport, I think I just really enjoy the process of working towards a goal. And so setting a goal and having a structured program of how you're going to reach that goal and improve a little bit every day. So day by day, every time I go out on the bike for a training session, I know that there's a reason behind that training session. And hopefully, if I can execute it correctly, I will be a little bit better than I was yesterday. So that's a big motivation for me to just keep on improving little bit by little bit. And I think there's also this thought in the back of my mind of my competition all the time. If I miss a day, then my competition's not missing that day and they're going to gain a bit on me. So I can't let that happen, which is a really big motivation for me. I just need to keep on chipping away and gaining that tiny bit of advantage one day at a time.
Mm. How do you maintain balance between demanding training and schedule with your personal life?
It's certainly something difficult to manage. I think it was a lot more difficult as a teenager in high school, obviously wanting to go out a lot and be with friends. And that is often detrimental to training, especially when you need to train, but not only train, you also need to rest a lot and get ready for the next training session. So that was quite difficult to navigate as a teenager. But I think now, um, after school, it's become a lot easier. Um, Cycling is my main thing. And so, really, everything is revolving around cycling and geared towards optimal performance in cycling.
Mm.
So, yeah, of course, I do have a social life as well, but cycling always comes first. For example, if my friend has a birthday, but I'm racing a big race on that day, then I have to do the big race, of course, and apologize to my friend, maybe buy him a present on the side, for example. But yeah, other than that, I think there is definitely a way to balance training and social life.
Mm.
Most of my training is done in the morning or early afternoon, and then the rest of my day is free. So oftentimes I will join my friends in the afternoon or evening, and we'll have a good time together. And as long as it doesn't affect my physical physical ability on the bike, then everything should be fine.
Mm. So after a grueling national race like this one that you just won, what does recovery look like? How do you recover physically and mentally?
Well, I think recovery actually starts on the bike. If you fuel correctly with the correct nutrition on the bike, you will definitely have a much better recovery afterwards. And then obviously after a big race, taking your recovery shake as soon as possible after finishing, which includes a lot of protein and carbohydrates. That's really important. And then also having a good solid meal with carbohydrates and protein in it within about 30 minutes after finishing. That's also really important so that you can be ready for the next training session or the next stage of a stage race, for example. So that's really important for recovery. And in addition to the nutrition side of things, if you don't have a masseuse, then foam rolling your legs, stretching your legs. These are all really important things. And if you're doing a stage race, for example, then having a soigneur who can give you massages on a daily basis is really something that's valuable for a cyclist.
Yeah. So I think you got a very busy season ahead. I'm not sure. My producer just gave it to me now. You're going to have the Tour de Rwanda, the South African Tour, and possibly African Track Championship, and a sting in Germany with the Bike 8 development. How are you preparing for all these packed schedule?
Uh, well, Tour de Rwanda happened about 2 weeks ago. It started on the 23rd of Feb until the 2nd of March, and that was 8 days of racing in Rwanda. So that's done. And Cape Town Cycle Tour was on the 9th of March. That's also done. So for now, for the rest of March, things are a bit quieter racing wise. Of course, I'm still training. And then I have South African Track Championships as my next event coming up. And that'll be from 2nd to the 6th of April. Of course, I have a national championship title on the track also that I need to defend. So that'll be very important for me to defend that title. And then beyond SA Track Champs, things are a bit uncertain at the moment. I do have some offers from some teams at the moment, but as of yet, I haven't decided which team I'm going to go with and when I'm leaving to join up with that team, wherever it may be. So in the previous 2 years, I had stints with the German team called Bike Development, but this I'm not so sure I'll be returning.
All right. So looking forward now, are you having your eyes on big races, maybe the Olympics, maybe one of the major European tours? Do you have your eyes on any of these races?
Yeah, for sure. I think next year is Commonwealth Games, which is something that I've always wanted to do but never been selected for. And I think my chances are a lot higher now to be selected for Commonwealth Games next year. That is in Scotland, I believe. So that would be really cool. And also, I think a big one would be to qualify for the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. It's always been a dream of mine to attend the Olympic Games and participate in cycling. So if that could happen, it would be a literal dream come true. And otherwise, short term, maybe this year we have track world championships or even road world championships in September, October. So I'll be looking forward to that for sure.
That's amazing. Is there anything that you would like to be done to support grassroots young people in the sport?
Yes, for sure. There's always room for growth in the sport, especially in South Africa, where cycling is not as big a sport as some others. So I think I would really like to make a call to action to any businesses or potential sponsors that would like to get involved with cycling and involved in a CSI project, developing young talent and nurturing it to grow that talent into its full potential. For Siata, for example, we are a team that has an elite racing team, but not only do we have that high-end performance part of it, we also have the grassroots development side. So we have a number of young under 17 and under 19 riders who are still trying to find their feet and develop as riders. And it's like Siata, which does sports development, but also community outreach, really needs sponsors from as many sources as possible. So I think it's very important to have sponsors in any sport. And I would just like to make an appeal to anybody who is interested to get involved and contact the team.
That's amazing. Um, what's the handle again? At Seattle, right? At Seattle. We're going to add it to the
Instagram, it's at team_theater.
at team underscore
And
theater. We're going to add it. We're going to add it to the link below. Nonetheless, let's go to a quick rapid fire fun questions for you. What's your favorite training meal?
muesli and yogurt.
What? Did you hear you?
Muesli and yogurt. Yeah.
Muesli and yogurt. Wow. What was the hardest climb that you have tackled?
I've ever done.
Hardest climb.
I think the hardest and highest climb goes to Alto de Letras in Colombia. I did that climb a number of times while I was staying in Manizales in Colombia, and it goes from 2,100 meters above sea level up to about 3,700 meters above sea level. So by the time I got to the top, I was completely dizzy. Yeah.
What music playlist do you have on a race?
Well, we're not allowed to listen to music during races, but I think if I'm warming up, for example, then I like something upbeat, like some hip hop, or just music that can hype me up and get me going.
What one pro tip would you give an experienced cyclist?
For an experienced cyclist, I think the tip would
aspiring, not experienced. Aspiring. Someone who wants to be a cyclist, what one pro tip will I give them?
Try and get yourself a coach and follow that training program as best as you can.
That's amazing. Usually we used to have questions from our previous guests, and then we ask you also to give questions to the next guest. So our previous guest asked a question. She said, where do you see coaching would be in the next 10 years with the development of AI and all that? So I think your sports, I don't think AI can coach, but let me hear from you.
That's quite a difficult one. Of course, making a prediction is always something difficult, especially now with AI taking over at the rate that is quite difficult to comprehend. But I've already heard of people using AI and deep. Actually, yeah, this was part of the topic on the last guest. The
DeepSeek.
What was it? Yeah, DeepSeek. Using that to get training advice. So I think in the next 10 years, we'll definitely see a lot more people in cycling using DeepSeek and AI to coach themselves instead of paying actual people to coach themselves, which I think is sad in a way because people who are qualified coaches are now losing out on work. But it's also an interesting facet to see how that AI can develop and find the best training methods for riders.
But do you think it's going to be as effective or efficient as someone coaching you? I still feel like the real coach would be more effective. That's my personal opinion, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think I would be hesitant to trust AI more than a real coach for sure. I think that the best coaches in the world have studied the science of exercise science and sports science, and they know about human physiology very well. But not only that, they've also done experiments on riders and various athletes to find results and make their training methods better.
Yeah.
So I don't know how AI would necessarily conduct experiments to find new data, apart from just reading existing data that's already published online, for example. So I think, I would definitely trust a real person, a real coach more.
Okay, so what question do you have for our next guest?
Who is the next guest?
We have no idea. We're just going to get the question and then we ask them.
Okay. Wow. Okay, my question is, what advice would you give yourself when you were trying to come up to where you are now?
That's a good one. I can take that for myself also. What advice would I give myself? It's a good one. It's a good one. Before we wrap up, let's people people, where can people follow you so that they can keep track of your progress and your successes? Can you give us a handle and yeah, and your results also?
On Facebook, it's Daniel Matthews. That's DANIYAL Matthews with two T's. DANIYL Matthews with two T's. And on Instagram, it's at Daniel Matthews, plain and simple.
Right.
It's just my surname, and you can find out everything about me from the past and what's coming up on my schedule in the near future.
Okay, would you like to thank anyone? I know you would like to thank your father and your team, Seattle, but is there any other people that you would like to thank for their support on your career so far?
I think a big thanks to Team Siata and Ibrahim, especially for taking me into the team when last year in January I was looking for a team and I didn't have one yet. And they welcomed me with open arms. And I'm glad that that has paid dividends so far. I would like to thank my family in Paul and in Cape Town as well, and especially my father, obviously, for always being behind me and supporting me on the journey. And I would like to thank everybody else who has been there on the journey as well, from bike development in Germany to Enza Construction or Clint Hendricks in Paul. There's been so many people along the way who helped me just a little bit every time to get to the next step in my career. And I'm thankful to everyone who has played a part. So, a big thank you.
Daniel, thank you very much for talking to us and sharing your inspiring story. We wish you all the best in your upcoming races, and we'll be here cheering up for you all the way till you get to the top. And we want to see you in the Olympics, hopefully, and the next Commonwealth Girl. Thank you so much for talking to us. Have a wonderful week ahead. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. You too. Bye.